Welcome to our Bootcamp info session. Really excited to have you all. Today, we'll be going over the next hour some high-level points of what the Bootcamp is, what it entails. But really, this session is for all of you all to ask your questions, learn more about our programming. This is going to be our, Maggie, is it fourth year running this? This is going to be our fourth year running this, right? Yes. Yes. And we're so excited to open this up for additional folks. We're also joined tonight by other students, other previous graduates to share about their experience. And really this opportunity is for folks to use it as a way to ask questions, learn more about our program, and if you're interested to potentially apply to our upcoming cohort this year. Real quick, a little bit about us, QTBIPOC Design. For anyone who's new, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization based in New York City, empowering the next generation of LGBTQ BIPOC creatives with education, mentorship, and networking opportunities.
Learning and education reform that breaks
away.
away.
Siri. And so for our work, Siri wants to take apart. Basically, we host monthly events throughout the course of the year. We host panels, but really where we've seen a huge, tremendous impact for our community has been through this program, this UX Bootcamp cohort that we've been running. We have thoughts of other programs that we're going to be launching up in the future, but really this year, this is going to be a really special program that we've cultivated a lot of great learnings, practices over the years, and we've gotten a ton of great feedback from folks. Our mission in our organization is really thinking about the intersectionality of queer and BIPOC perspectives within the space of design. Over the years, you may have been to some of our programs. We've been able to connect with and uplift thousands of folks through our programming. We started initially before the pandemic, but then over the pandemic, we went completely digital, and we've had attendees from all around the world. We've had folks attend from Australia, like 4 a.m. their time. In previous years of our boot camp, we've had folks from South America also join us. Last year, we had an individual from India joining us. And also with a lot of our programming, we're not just thinking about queer BIPOC perspectives here in America, but really about queer BIPOC perspectives around the world. And so really, as we're starting to think about the program and how it's different, is not just only the QT-BIPOC Center perspectives within the teaching team, within the students, and all the people you're going to learn alongside, but really the larger community that we're a part of and using a lot of the teachings and learnings also from other QT-BIPOC professionals, design leaders, facilitators that we're going to also integrate into our practice as well. Really special programming and really special moment. And honestly, there is nothing like it at all. There's other design organizations and design programs and UX bootcamp programs that are out there, but time and time again, I think why we have so many high percentages of people really going through our program is the really special community nature within our community. To be surrounded by people who share a ton of similar experiences as you do. Taking a look at a little bit of some of the impact that we've had over the years. We've had a tremendous impact with some folks who've come through our program. Some folks have used our program to jumpstart their careers within the design industry, within just tech as a whole. We've had folks use our program to break into just the realm of creativity and doing the work within digital design, UX design. And what is really special about our program, in the beginning, our program started off as a way for entry-level folks within the design industry level up, senior up their capabilities. But what we've seen over the years, time and time again, has been a lot of folks who come from all different types of backgrounds, whether they are in tech already as a QA analyst or a developer. We've also had people come from backgrounds like nonprofit, food, retail. And what's really special is the course in which we've created really brings people from points of their design career expertise and allows it to really shine and really take it to the next level and what that might look like. But just for some demographic details of who you would be surrounded by attending our UX Bootcamp programming, we are really proud to say our program, because it's so specific, we've seen a huge shift in the communities that have shown up. We are proud to say a lot of our attendees are Black, LGBTQ, trans, BIPOC identifying, and if you see a lot of queer center spaces, for example, right, a lot of discussion and frankly critique has been a lot of that is very white centered. And by shifting a lot of our programming, we're also starting to create space for even smaller demographics of communities within it. In the 3 years we've been running in the past, we're really excited to also have a huge Latinx, LGBTQ, queer population within our programming, also thinking about two-spirit, indigenous, queer identifying folks within our program. And it is really one of the most diverse programs that we've been able to create as a team. So once folks are in it, be prepared to just be surrounded by a plethora of different perspectives, identities, backgrounds, and the way we also, and if folks have any questions in the application process, we as teachers and also as other folks within our QTBIPOC design staff, we look at all the applications that come through and we actually select for diversity as well. And so we try our very best to bring people from not just even different identities, whether it's gender identities, sexual identities, but also different lived and learned experiences, other parts of the region. We definitely try to diversify, mix between rural and also urban backgrounds, lived experiences, but also just different geographic backgrounds, not just within the United States, some folks from Canada, and some folks from different time zones and locations. And we'll get a little bit more into it in our session, but we have this part of a program that is called the partner pair model, where we put students together to submit assignments, all doing everything together with another individual. And time and time again, students going to it begrudgingly going, like another, partner pair program, finish that in grade school or college. But interestingly enough, we've done the survey and 100% year over year, everyone is really excited about that aspect of programming as well. Going into some of the specifics of our program, the one that we're talking about in particular, our UX Bootcamp program is fully digital, a 12-week intensive program where we teach the basic fundamentals of using Figma, design strategy, UX design, digital design, and we host it throughout the month of September, all the way to the first week of December with Thanksgiving, Indigenous Day, off for folks to work on and just make final tweaks into the final presentation. We have, like I mentioned, a partner pair model where all students coming to the program are paired with another person. We actually have another survey that we run once students are admitted into the program to learn more about yourself, your background, and we try our best to match people with other folks that are really similar to them. And throughout our many years of running this, I think we've done a great job matching folks together. And then also in terms of funding, we have a scaled pricing model. So depending on where folks sit at the specific economic situation, you have different price points based on what you qualify into. But also in addition, we have some full and partial scholarships for folks who might need some economic support there as well. Taking a look at our completion rates, we have a really great 90% completion rates, and really the dropouts have been due to a lot of big life circumstances that have come through for some of the students. Um, in terms of really, as we look at the big scheme of just online education and folks being admitted into programs, we see a really a graduation rate of as low as 30% in some programs. I myself have taught many different curriculums, and most of them is just meant to bring people in and just figure out how to get their money, and then whether you graduate or not, that's totally up to the folks. And I think as teaching team, here we have Maggie and myself. We're really dedicated to making sure everyone gets to the program and has also a really great time. And so what we also do behind the scenes is we have a weekly teaching team meeting. We also bring in other speakers and other collaborators into that meeting, and we actually adjust the course week over week, depending on also where collectively students are at. We have one of the course that's meant for kind of this like wiggle adjustable course during the 12 weeks that is really meant to touch on some things that we have missed that students might need additional support in. We might extend some part of our programming to give students more room to work on designs or more of the strategy. But really, what you're going to also get throughout this 12-week program is a curated program that fits the livelihoods for everyone that's in. We have seats for 20 students this year, which is similar to what we had last year. And 20 students right now is where we feel really great about having a great experience still with a number of students. And our acceptance rate is, we have a lot of applications that come through. And I think one thing that we want to stress this year as we share the application is going to be asking folks to share a little bit about yourself. I think a big proponent of our application last year's and the years before has been, we don't want it to take up any time at all. And I think with that, I think some students just entered like, I'm like, hey, who are you? And just like 2 words, like, this is me. And this year, I think we just want to stress, don't have to spend like a ton of time, fixing the grammar. Like, that's not what we're after. But what we're after really is trying to find folks who can really lean and leverage this program to the potential for your life and make an impact. And then also, especially for those who need additional scholarship support, where you're at economically. And so I think that's really, and then also just in terms of fit, we're also looking for just a cohesiveness with the curriculum. And so, of course, don't feel as though you're not going to get in. Sometimes students have sent in, they're like, oh, I don't think I'm going to get in, and they've gotten in the very first time. For folks who've applied previously, we actually do favor previous applicants. And so we actually have different point systems set up. And so if folks have applied previously and haven't gotten in, we actually encourage you to apply again. And then those points actually do accrue year over year and then get added in, and then we bring folks in. And so we try to be as democratic and to be as equitable as we can in the application process as well. And also for folks joining today's session, the info session, there are points in our little system that we use that we give to folks for also joining. So kudos for showing up and for using the session as well. And so with all set inside, the session over the next 40 minutes is for you to learn more about kind of the curriculum, ask your questions. Let me see what else I have. Real quick, a little background into myself, and then Maggie, if you want to do a quick intro. Myself, I'll be one of the instructors, the founder of the nonprofit organization, based here in New York City, the TLDR. I've taught many UX curriculums, bootcamp courses, guest lectured at different schools, and this program is really the culmination of a lot of different modern day teaching styles and things that we've learned year over year, of things that we see also within the industry, within the practice, but also things that we think are really important things to stress in terms of where the design industry and things are moving as well. And so I think this is really a culmination of so many things, from personally many years of advertising background, also working with many of the large corporations and also all of these different organizations that we do work with. And then right now, myself, what I do is I also run another agency called Stranger Creative, and we basically help design websites and applications for enterprise and medium-sized clients within the retail space and tech companies. And so, really, a lot of what you'll start to see is also shaped by some of the work we do there as well. Enough of me talking. Maggie, do you want to do a quick intro into who you are?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm Maggie. I'm one of the instructors. A senior UX designer. Been currently at HubSpot. Been doing UX for, gosh, I want to say 7, 8 years now at this point, and then been volunteering at different design based communities for that long as well. Super excited to be doing this another year. We get a lot of wonderful applicants. So if you're interested, highly encourage you to apply. We try to make this again as accommodating and as catered to the group. So it's definitely a bit of a unique situation. And we love to experiment and try new things. So it's not like pre-recorded anything. It's live and it's fun and we're there. And you have a beautiful community to support you as well.
Yes, thank you. Let me go over some additional logistics, and then I do want to turn it to some of our students, our previous students that have come to attend the space, and um, I think it'll be great to hear from them as well. But real quick, looking at our curriculum, there's more details also on our website. 12-week program, TLDR here, and then we'll also send out the slides as well, and then the recording for folks just joining us. We go over basic fundamentals, user experience, including Figma, learning the tool that most design companies are using, and really a lot of the courses and week over week what we'll be learning are just the really important lessons that is not about busy work, but is really about methodologies and theories that I think as the industry changes, hopefully it'll impact the way that folks are thinking about design rather than it's about the techniques of just like how to round corners of boxes, it's just really these fundamental things of thinking about the strategy, thinking about the way that you're working with other folks on projects and teams. And it is definitely going to be a mix of soft skills and hard skills. But the idea is we want folks to walk away as well-rounded designers, both in theory and in practice. Like I mentioned, we have the partner pair programming that we have where folks are paired up together. Definitely is something that has been so special and near and dear to so many folks. And a lot of students have taken a lot from it. And what this means is also you're paired with another person in the curriculum. And really, the way it's been set up is to support one another. And so feel that you're going to have not just the teaching team and not just the cohort to support you, but also another person in the program that's going to be dedicated to working alongside you, helping you. And all the assignments are actually collaborative. And what's been really great is this has been a great learning model for students to use this to take it into whether it's interview process or whether it's to the next job or to a current job. A lot of learnings is just how to work and interface with designers that I think this is really what's missing from most design curriculums and programs. While it's really easy, I think, for folks to just do all the assignments and get it done right in your own accord, I think in doing with others, you learn so many amazing critical skills that even just from an interview perspective, this is right the meat of the interview that you get a lot of robust things that you get to talk about. How did you work with people? What did you do with them? What has your role been, right? Quickly going into some of the case studies, coming into it, all good, Belle, welcome. We come out of the course with a presentation deck with your case studies and we've set up the curriculum in a way so that each week it kind of builds upon itself. And what's really beautiful is that at the end of the day, you walk away with not just capabilities of learning some of the tools like Figma, Notion, but then some artifacts and thinking about user persona, user profiles, usability testing, sketching, and then also creating them into designs. That's the premise of a lot of the work is at the end of the day, we really want to prep students as much as possible with the capabilities and also deliverables to potentially take this into interviews and into other further discussions of where you want to go. Maybe it's upper education, right? Which I can share a little bit more about. One thing that we haven't really been sharing, but we're in the middle of finalizing, which is really exciting, is this year we're going to be partnering again with Startups for All, but the organization that we're going to be working with is a mission-driven organization that works in the edtech space called Group Trail. And so students in this program will be working together also with the founder of Group Trail and a portion of their project to then ideate and think about and tinker with their product. They do a lot of work working alongside different educational institutions at their colleges. And we're just really excited to potentially have a really robust portfolio for students working on parts of their product as well. Without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a quick video for us, and then I'm going to turn it to some of our previous students to share their experiences. Some folks might remember their faces. Can you hear audio okay?
Before attending our bootcamp, I was working in a technical business role.
I was working entry level at a startup tech company.
I had really been focusing on transitioning into tech.
I had finished another UX UI program. I had a really severe case of imposter syndrome and felt that I didn't belong in UX design, even after everything I'd learned and experienced.
I was working as an architect in an office, but I guess I didn't see quite much my future there.
It was really important for me as a queer Black man to be surrounded by peers who also identified as being queer and people of color.
That immediately stood out to me.
And also, I think it's very empowering to see other QTBIPOC people who are already professionals in the field. I think it gives you a path.
My favorite part of bootcamp has been the supportive teachers who encouraged us along the way, gave us great resources, information, advice, and opened a whole network to us after the conclusion of the bootcamp.
We actually had constructive feedback that we could use going into the next week about the assignment we were working on.
They cared about us learning about these design principles, but they also really genuinely cared about us as beings, really prioritized us looking after ourselves.
I had a wonderful experience, and I attribute being in a space where I felt seen, I felt heard, I felt belonging and access.
My biggest takeaway would be that there is more than one way of arriving at a solution when it comes to design.
After this course, I have a much more open and experimental mindset when it comes to taking on projects or trying to problem solve certain things.
I do feel more confident about being a UX designer because it really gave me a solid foundation to stand on.
I don't really have anything else to say other than definitely take it if you haven't. I would take it again if I could.
And so I encourage anyone that is looking to transition into UX design, apply to QTBIPOC Design Bootcamp. They have a wonderful teaching team, a wonderful community that they are cultivating, and just a really supportive environment to learn again together. So thank you.
Awesome. And last but not least, I want to create space for folks to hear from previous students as well. And I think what's beautiful is we actually have different students from different years of running it. We have some students from our very first year, we have students from 2 years ago, and then we have students from last year. And so I wanted to create some space voluntarily. Does anyone want to share a little bit about your experience with the boot camp? Takeaways? Who wants to go? Camera shy? Okay, why don't we start first years? Ross, Bell, welcome. Do you want to share a little bit about what was your experience like? What did you take away?
I'll go. So I know it was like really early on. I came from a background of having done CUNY's, the University of New York's UX program during lockdown and the pandemic. So I got a lot of theoretical background, but one of the things I felt like I was really lacking was just like actual industry like talk. Like I'm autistic. Also yeah, she, her, I'm Belle. We should have probably started with that. I'm Dominican and Puerto Rican, and I really valued being in a space that was surrounded by, other queer people of color. I actually had some problem with racism at my first program, so being in a safe space was like really nice for me, especially because it's definitely a tough world out in tech. And I'd been trying to break in for actually like 4 or 5 years at that point. Um, and I really, really appreciated like Stephen's teaching style and all of the mentors that were there. And I don't have a college degree either. So I was transitioning at like from nothing in a lot of ways. And after that I was able to get into Wayfair. They collapsed like a dying star, but that's another story. That's no. But I really, really value this program for like introducing me and really like building on my skills because I felt like I hit like almost like a skill cap.
Oh, thank you, Belle. Thank you, Belle. What about you, Ross?
Yeah. So my name is Ross, he, him. Um, I really appreciate the program, especially coming in as a trans man and a Filipino American. And I thought the space was really inclusive and it was really cool to see at that point I was like an undergrad, um like very early in undergrad, so I didn't really know much at all. Like I had like zero like experience really with UX design. Um and I really wanted to kind of learn what it's like in like kind of like a more industry kind of like centric setting, because at that point I was really just everything I was learning was just like school projects or just like school research, like academic research, which is like, it's a value experience, but it's not the same as like, what's going on like working in industry or working in the real world. So it was really cool to see like how to learn and see how it's makes its impact, like a tangible impact in the real world. I think that was my um what helped me a lot, and kind of like pushing me to kind of go out of my comfort zone to learn new things. Um that I really wasn't like confident in my like design skills or using Figma. I was really scared actually like like using a lot of these tools at the beginning, but through like Steven's teaching and all the different like mentors and teachers, um they really kind of broke it down in a really, yeah, exactly. Figma's scary. Like Figma is like was so intimidating to me. But they broke it down to really like easy to understand like concepts, and like the assignments were really I think they were really beneficial for me to just kind of get over the hump of being scared and kind of just diving into it and getting my feet wet, because you kind of have to be okay with not being like good at first to get better, if that makes sense. So it was really awesome in that regard. And seeing other people's work like in the cohort was really inspiring as well. So yeah, I really highly recommend this kind of experience for anyone who's interested.
Thank you, Ross. And we also have the next cohort, we have Stanton, we have Anthony, we have Paola. Do any of you want to share your experiences?
Yeah, I can
Go for
jump on
Stanton.
and share. Hey everyone, I'm Stanton. My pronouns are he, him. Um, I guess I should start off by saying I had a background in performing arts and theater. I'm an actor, I still act, but I sort of during the pandemic wanted to get into doing UX research. So I initially started off doing a course at FIT, and then I thought it wasn't really enough and I wanted to be competitive because I wanted to pursue it sort of from a place of freelancing. So I needed to be really competitive. So I signed up for this class, and it really was, just to echo some of the points that have been made before, like one of the only times where I was seeing, like, after the class, real life application. So like whether it was working with wireframes, whether it was working with like user personas or creating user profiles or journey maps or sketches and mockups, and Figma especially, like I interact with Figma literally every day that I'm working currently. And I work right now part-time at a queer dating app called Motto. So yeah, I think everything that you learn in this class really will be applicable and super useful. I also think that, again, just to reiterate the point of being in a cohort of people who are primarily people of color and queer, like there's a lot of, I can't really speak for anyone else, but for myself, all of my learning environments were predominantly white. And I found that coming into a space like this, there were just a lot of mental blocks maybe that I could immediately drop. I was like, I don't have to think about being the best. I don't have to think about representing for anybody. I don't have to think about, all of these other sort of pieces of work that come with being a person of color in predominantly white spaces. So yeah, that's another thing. And I guess, yeah, just everything we did in this class was super, super useful. In addition to like, specifically like when it comes to sort of synthesizing and sharing information. Like I remember you guys were all very not necessarily hard on us, but it was like tough love of like, you're going to be working with people who are really busy, who have about 5 to 10 minutes, and they want to get, high level digestible insights. And I can tell you from experience that has definitely been what it's like working sometimes at, specifically when you're freelance or just coming in for like, a few hours per week on a project. But yeah, it was a great, great experience, and I highly, highly recommend.
Thanks, Stanton. What about yourself, Paola? I
Yes,
love the
hello,
hair,
my
by
name
the way.
Thank you. Hey, hello, my name is Paola. Yes, my pronouns are she, her. I am from another part of the country, so in Latin America, but in the class, you can share experience with other people with different countries. Actually, one of the best experiences in my life I have, because they share about UX. Actually, they have this, like, it's a safe space for you, even in the community. So every class that the teachers share there, you can talk with them. Actually, we do like uh, an app, or we use a case study, and the teachers always give you a research or give you a really good feedback about about what you are doing in the class. So it helps you to understand actually the extra information that give you a lot for UX. I guess is the best.
Thanks, Paola. How about you, Anthony?
Oh, yes. Hi, I'm Anthony. I go by they, them pronouns. Oh man, how long has it been? I think like a year and a half ago, or about 2 years ago, that I joined the cohort. But yeah, it was a great experience. I came off with like a very tiny amount of design, like a tiny amount of like a design background. I took like a very small like Figma course or nothing like too big, but I think once I joined the cohort and it was kind of like what I imagine would be like kind of like the perfect like learning setting where you get to be paired up with someone of a similar background. And I was coming off of like this very like rigid like corporate space, and then coming here and being able to learn and also be paired up with someone that you feel comfortable with, and everyone's like coming from like a similar place makes you um, feel very safe and welcomed. And I felt like that was a very like nice aspect of the boot camp that you really won't find anywhere else. As Also for like the curriculum, like I think I just like was able to learn a lot, and as a result, we were able to like create a a fairly decent like portfolio piece that we can go back on. And yeah, also the instructors, all of you guys were like really nice. I never felt like I was um, being like mistreated or anybody was mean. So overall, like excellent. I would recommend it every time.
Thank you, Anthony. And then lastly, we have Elizabeth from our most recent class. Welcome, welcome. Um, if you want to share a little bit about your experience, and I think we have another question also about like the portfolio. I think with the most recent class, you might have a little bit more background that's more related and similar to maybe what they might get this upcoming year. Yeah, if you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi everyone. My name is Elizabeth Fonseca. I was in the cohort previously that Stephen just mentioned. I absolutely loved it. I think it was such a beneficial experience. And just speaking on the portfolio, I feel like the portfolio piece that I was able to get out of it has been really key. Just talking with recruiters, and I think my background has always been on social impact. So, since we were working with Startups for All, and they were working with nonprofits or nonprofit startups, I got a really good sense of what real life projects could look like, even if we were just zoning on like a specific like user flow at that time. So I would say that it's definitely been a really, really incredible journey. But just speaking on like the individuals that I was able to work with, I feel like everyone was just super kind. It was a place where I felt like I could make mistakes and nobody was gonna, look down on me. And I could ask a lot of questions. I feel like sometimes being a queer person of color, you can get this pressure to feel like you have to be the one to kind of represent everyone that looks like you in certain spaces that don't really represent you. So I felt like it was a really, really great place to just kind of experiment and get to learn about UX in a really, really safe environment.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Awesome. And so we have about 16 minutes. If folks have any questions, if you want to pop it into the chat, I or any of the students or Maggie, I think we can all collectively help answer the questions. But this is like just for myself, one of my most favorite things I look forward to. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful space. I think our last class, right, Elizabeth, last year got really emotional because I don't think we were realizing how much of this like collective energy that we had been building. And it was so beautiful to witness also everyone's growth. I think a big part of our curriculum is dismantling, like what Santa mentioned, right? Where it's like dismantling perfectionism, all of these like ways that we have to show up in white spaces, white work, and white projects. And I think that is a big proponent of also the soft skill portion of our curriculum is finding a way where we can be authentic with our work and show up and also ask even like the hard questions, that sometimes you might not even have the space to ask, right, out of the general assembly or any of these courses. And so a little bit more about the project. We've tested in previous years having multiple projects. I think even the very first one, right, Ross and Val, we tried multiple projects and we collectively as a group were like, no, let's just work on one, right? And we
Yeah.
actually took that in subsequent years. And actually, I think that's been the best decision. Yeah. Did you want to add anything, Val?
Yeah, no, I just want to say too, I think one of the things that really sets this program part, because I was forced to do General Assembly after the fact, and it was completely different, way different. And one of the things that I really appreciate about this program, I don't know if a lot of you are neurodivergent too, but like Steven's willing to take feedback and like work with you, which I think is really helpful. And also, I just want to say, like, yeah, the community here is really strong. One of the things I really valued is that, like, I stayed friends with a lot of people that I met in the first cohort. Like, well, after we're still, well, I was like, what, 2021? We're still talking. Like, I've talked to them to the day. We still, like, even if they're not even if you decide, God forbid that UX is not for you, they'll still have a place, which I think is nice too.
Thank you, Val. Yes, friends, you make friends for life. That's our sales pitch. But it's just like I think what's beautiful is we come in through the lens of our identities, and it's so easy to spot like, oh, this is great, this is for me, right? And I think a lot of students, just speaking for some of them, is this. It almost takes everyone by surprise by how important this community is in supporting our work and our education. One note with the application process, this year we're actually expanding the number of people who are also part of the selection committee as well. And we're bringing our board into the process. And so really, we're trying to be as equitable as we can with who's a part of the process. The only one asterisk I'll share is we have a few portions. It's really short. Honestly, if you wanted to get through the application in 2 minutes, you can. I actually really do not recommend that because we want to learn more about you. We want to learn more about your story. And I think the thing that is really important that I will share with you all here for showing up in this space is I think what's going to really help is helping us understand how this course is going to fit into your life. How is this going to fit into your career? How is this going to fit into the big scheme of things? And I don't think you need to make up, right? Like, oh, I'm going to use this and get a job, right? But genuinely, we've had people apply and they're like, I'm really interested. I've never had the opportunity, right? And stuff like that is going to help us better understand what's going to be a great fit, right? I think in the past, we've taken students who want to just show up and they're just like, partially interested. And I think what we're looking for in a good fit is people who are genuinely interested, who really want to dig deep and invest time into learning this program, learning about digital design, user experience. And I think in creating a cohort of very passionate, like-minded individuals, what we want to make sure is who you're partnered with too, right? Are people who are invested, who want to do a great job of just like showing up, right? And also putting in time and attention into the work that you're doing together. So really a part of the selection process is also to ensure that the people we do pair you up ultimately as a part of the partner pair program are also people who are gonna show up. They're 2 feet in the door, going, I'm gonna put in the work to collaborate, to be in the process, and show up, ultimately in the work and as a person. No project needed, so also no past experience needed at all. But we do definitely, if you've taken courses previously, we don't select against it at all. I think we actually encourage you to share as many things as you can of what you've taken, your background with any technical thing, any design background. And we use that in a way also to match different people to your partnership. And so we use some of the data from the application process. And then after once students are selected, we have a registration email that we send out where we ask a little bit about like, what do you like? What do you not like in life, in design? And this is more for like a matching of just like who's a good fit. But we use some of the answers of just like technical design background from the initial survey to then match people up at the right level as well. And I think that's been a learning over the subsequent years. We just want to also make sure we match students who are on the same kind of rough trajectory, just so that like if somebody is willing to invest like 40 hours a week into it and you're only able to invest 15 hours, that there isn't a difference of expectation. In terms of time commitment, I think that's a question that David asked. We have 3 hours of classroom time. Initially, we had office hours. Students really didn't use it, but if we need to, we're more than happy to extend. Last year, we had an extension of, I think, 30 minutes or an hour after class for office hours for additional questions, so we're flexible. But the baseline is 3 hours of lecture together as a group, as a whole, and then about 1 to 2 hours of mandatory meeting time with your partner pair that you have to have each week. And then in addition to that, depending on what works, maybe you might want more hands-on time, right, with your partner. We also have another survey question when we match people up in terms of like how people work best, you know. Do people want more of like you show up and you figure it out and you go off? Or do people want more time just like hands-on together, right, on Zoom and just sitting together? And so we ask a lot of those questions and match more from also like a desire and need in terms of collaboration. Just like Maggie said, Maggie, why don't you add, after having been on so many selection processes, what do you look for and what has helped?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say it's really hard when you don't fill out the form or you're kind of generic. It just makes it a little harder because we just really want to put together a picture of who you are, what led you to this point, like why UX, why this boot camp, why you think this is a great space for you, um, what's your identity, all those things that make you you and unique, and it really helps paint us a picture. It also helps us try to understand who can potentially match well together along the way as partners. So it even goes beyond the application, right? As we're trying to get to know you, it extends over past like, okay, you've been accepted. Now we're gonna work together. It also helps us understand if you have special accommodations, and stuff like that, and how we can work with you. Again, it's just trying to, we're not trying to be like a work app, right? We are really trying to get to know you. And I think the best applications have some sort of story element to it. Even if it's not like one paragraph, you see them filling out the form and there is some story that you can kind of follow that led them to this point in time. So I think those are the best ones in my opinion.
For sure. And you know, you heard it here, but we're not looking for like it doesn't have to be grammatically perfect. You don't have to like, you know, rewrite and rewrite. And it's just spend some time, you know, just share more about who you are, your background, and ultimately I think what you will just need to hit on is why is this program right for you? You know, and I think that's ultimately going to help us understand what's the right fit, who are going to be the right fit for you as a partner pair. Because sometimes people want to go off and doing more schooling, right? Sometimes people want to use this and go get a job, right? And sometimes people want to use this to just see if they're interested, right? And ultimately, I think we need to understand that so that we can make the best match for that possible, you know, and all of it is ultimately every single question we like, you know, go back and forth with our type form and we like massage out the question. All of it is ultimately so that we can make sure the space is the most relevant for you all and the most inclusive as well, and also the most accommodating. We have spaces where folks can answer about your learning styles, and we use that once we finalize the cohort to kind of summarize, okay, what are different learning modalities and ways that we have to, document, record, track things. And so there's some things that we don't outline as bullets as a part of the course and what is expected, because we also kind of wait on the applications and the registration info to then kind of, there's that next phase of us starting to delineate what's actually going to happen with the course. That's really based on who's admitted into the program. Yeah. But just in terms of timing, for those of you who showed up today, we're just gonna be sharing the link for the application a week in advance for you all. So you're gonna get to see before everyone. That's just our little gift to you all for showing up this evening. And then in addition, I think what we're gonna do is set June 21st as the application close date. But what we do is we look at applications on a rolling basis. So with that, we actually recommend trying to submit when you're ready, as soon as you can. Once it's in, we can take a look at it. What happens is we get like a bunch of applications the day we close and just all rushes in. And I think what you don't want to happen is having to just like really cut a little bit about yourself and your background, because you're just limited on time to submit it. Again, the application, it could take you literally 2-3 minutes if you want to zip through it. And it's really about, finding how is this program a fit for you, right? That we want to answer. And if you want to get started on that and open up, a notepad on your phone and just jot some notes down, that's going to be one of the questions as well. What feedback have you received for participation working full-time, tending to family needs while doing boot camp, 5-hour commitment, or even 5 hours, full-time commitment, only doable but beneficial? Great question. So this program is really dedicated to you get what you put in. And it's not a way that's saying, well, you have to spend like 50, 60 hours. We're really big on working also smarter, not harder. And that's why we also limit the time of the course, right? We do have the requirement for attending the course. There is only one absence that we allow, and it's because each course moves so fast that we make sure that if you have multiple absences, it might not be the best fit this time around, but maybe the next time around. This year, we're going to be running our courses weekly on Tuesdays. So it's going to run from September 10th through the first week of December on Tuesday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern. This will be listed also on the application and on our website. But we also do that so that for folks who do work, we try to push it as late as we can. We haven't been able to push it even later. Otherwise, then East Coast folks are going to be joining class at about 9 o'clock. So that's been kind of the good, happy medium that we've had. And for folks who are working full-time, we actually recommend this course should take roughly about anywhere from like 10 to 20 hours a week. And for students who've been really sharp and really clear and really good about delegation, they've been able to be a lot more efficient, right? And so that's the only thing I put out there, is that it is possible. It just requires a lot more due diligence to just be a lot sharper with how you're using your time, right? And so again, like Belle mentioned, if students are having a tough time figuring out how to delegate and how to work, and our teaching team is here to sit down with you, work with you and your partner, and we're also really dedicated. Once you're in the program, we're going to get through it. And so don't feel as though once you're in, you're off on your own, right? Yeah. Awesome. I know we're at time. Thank you, Elizabeth. And thanks for dropping the LinkedIn. Definitely, yeah. Feel free to connect, ask questions. We have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. If anyone wants to type it in the chat, or if anyone wants to raise your hand, we're more than happy to answer. hopefully folks are excited. Yeah. And we absolutely love our community members, and also for, you know, our students. We reach out on a periodical basis, which I need to do more of, but you know, us as a teaching team and a community, it's a tight-knit group, and we're here to support. We want to help everyone with what folks are working on. And so, you know, I really appreciate all the previous students that's been able to show up and create space as well tonight. And hopefully that's also testament to kind of the spaces that we're creating as well. Any other questions? Let's see, anything else? There'll be more information for the pricing and stuff like that also posted on the website, and feel free to take a look at that. If anyone has any additional questions, we do have an email address, which I'll put here, info@qtbipoc.design. So feel free to send us an email if you have any questions. Once the application is out, we'll also include the contact information as well. And we want to make sure it's a great time, even in the application process. And so feel free to send us questions. We're more than happy to answer. The fact that you showed up today is already going to be really, really great for your application to join. And if folks have applied previously and you weren't able to get in, again, like, we recommend applying again. We have full list of people who've attended in the past, and we make sure we are as equitable as we can with the time that people share and spend with us. And so we do use previous applications to just add on. And it's just, you know, the tension that we have where we would love to bring on as many people as possible. And we're also trying to be mindful as possible to not spread ourselves so thin that everyone has not a great experience. And so I think this is where compassionately, we really appreciate everyone for applying, and really the space is set up in a way that once you're in, we're going to have a wonderful time and figuring it out. And to get in, I think this year we just really want to hear more about your story and let us know, you know. And then we're all looking forward to your application. I think that's it. We'll send out the recording so folks can listen to it again. Any last notes, Maggie, to close out?
Happy applying. I look forward to it.
We look forward to hearing your stories, everyone. Well, without further ado, the space is now closed. Thank you for showing up. Stay tuned. We'll send the emails out. If you register through Eventbrite, we'll use that email to send out the early application link. We also have the Slack channels, so feel free to use, honestly, whichever channel feel most empowering to you to ask a question. Feel free to do that as well. And thank you, everyone, for showing up. Have a good rest of your night. Get some rest.
Later.
We'll see you again soon. Bye, everyone.